Hello everyone, myself Farvahita, Assistant Professor of CSE Department from Rohini College of Engineering and Technology. I am here to explain a few concepts of the subject CS 8592 Object Oriented Analysis and Design. Here we are going to discuss about the topic Domain Model Refinement and Finding Conceptual Class Hierarchies. The objective is to know about the domain model refinement. Domain model refinement. So, first we are going to learn why we are using this domain model refinement. In order to refine the domain model with generalizations, specializations, association classes, time intervals, composition and packages, we use this domain model refinement. Okay. So, generalization and specialization are fundamental concepts in domain modeling that support an economy of expression. Association classes capture the information about an association itself. The time interval capture the important concept that some business objects are valid for a limited time. Packages are a way to organize large domain models into smaller units. Now, let us know what is generalization. Generalization is the activity of identifying commonality among concepts and defining the superclass and subclass. Okay. Superclass is also called as general concept and the subclass is the specialized concept relationships. Identifying a superclass and subclass is of the value in a domain model because their presence allow us to understand the concepts in more general, refined and abstract terms. So, this is a diagram which shows the generalization and specialization hierarchy. So, consider here payment, which is a superclass, it is a more general concept, and the cash payment, credit payment, check payment, everything comes under subclass and which is also called as more specialized concept. So, these are the conceptual classes and not software classes. Identify the domain superclass and subclass relevant to the current iteration and illustrate them in the domain model. So, the same thing is given here. So, the class hierarchy with separate and shared arrows notations is shown in this diagram. Okay. So, in the first, that is the leftmost diagram, we have individual associations and in this rightmost diagram we have a shared arrow notation. Okay. Now, let us see about conceptual superclass and subclasses. A conceptual superclass definition is more general or encompassing than a subclass definition. That is, for example, consider the superclass payment and its subclass, that is maybe cash payment and so on. Assume the definition of payment is that it represents the transaction of transferring money, not necessarily the cash, for a purchase from one party to another, and that all the payments have an amount of money transferred. The model corresponding to this is shown in the following figure. Consider this diagram: payment, amount, money. So, that is the attribute. Then cash payment, credit payment, it may be whatever type of payment, cash payment, if it can be a cash payment, credit payment or check payment. So, now let us see about conceptual subclass definition conformance. That is, when a class hierarchy is created, statements about superclass that apply to subclasses are made. For example, in the following figure, the states that all payments have an amount and are associated with the sale. So, this is the diagram which shows the subclass conformance. Okay. So, the payment pays for sale. So, that is multiplicity values, the 1 and 1 that is given as multiplicity values. So, conceptual subclass set conformance. A conceptual subclass should be a member of the set of the superclass. Thus, credit payment should be a member of the set of payments. When to define a subclass now? So, in order to define a subclass, so first what we have to do? At the what time or which is the right time to define a conceptual subclass? A conceptual class partition is a division of a conceptual class into disjoint subclasses. For example, in the point of sale domain, the customer may be correctly partitioned or subclassed into male customer and female customer. Okay. So, this is the subclasses. You can have a class called customer, it may have two subclasses, that is a male customer and female customer. Now, let us see about the motivations to partition a conceptual class into subclasses. For that, first we are going to create a conceptual subclass of a superclass when we have the following steps. The subclass has additional attributes of interest, the subclass have additional associations of interest, the subclass concept is operated on, handled, reacted to or manipulated differently than the superclass or other subclasses according to their own interest. The subclass concept represents an animate thing, for example, animal, robot, etc., that behaves differently than the superclass or other subclasses, okay, according to their interest. Now, let us see when to define a conceptual superclass. So, for that the motivations to generalize and define a superclass are, we are going to create a superclass in a generalization relationship to subclasses when the potential conceptual subclasses represent variations of a similar concept. The subclasses will conform to the 100%. All subclasses have the same attribute that can be factored out and expressed. And now, let us see about abstract conceptual classes. If every member of a class C must also be a member of a subclass, then the class C is also called as abstract conceptual class. For example, assume that every payment instance must more specifically be an instance of the subclass credit payment, cash payment or check payment. So, this diagram shows the abstract conceptual classes. Thank you.